Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join us as we explore the rugged landscapes, uncover hidden historical gems, and dive deep into the rich legends and culture of this iconic region. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Please leave a like or comment. This is very helpful. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. Imagine this. It's a moonless night in September 1779, somewhere in the rugged Colorado wilderness. 600 Spanish soldiers and their Native American allies are creeping through a mountain gully, hunting the most feared war chief on the frontier, a Comanche leader whose very name strikes terror into Spanish settlers across New Mexico. This chief has spent years raiding Spanish towns, killing hundreds, taking prisoners, and leaving devastation across hundreds of miles. His name is Cuerno Verde, the Greenhorn, and he's about to face the most legendary frontiersman in Spanish America, Juan Bautista de Anza. What happens next will change the course of history in the American Southwest and set the stage for one of the most remarkable peace processes ever negotiated between European colonists and Native American tribes. This is the story of an epic hunt, a climactic battle, and a diplomatic revolution. By 1779, the northern frontier of New Spain was in crisis. Spanish settlements in New Mexico were under constant assault from Comanche war bands who swept down from their strongholds in what is now Colorado. These weren't random raids. They were systematic campaigns of terror threatening to drive Spanish colonists from the region entirely. Teodoro de Croix, Commandant General of the vast northern frontier, faced a nightmare scenario. Traditional Spanish military tactics weren't working against these highly mobile horse warriors. Something had to change fast. The survival of Spanish New Mexico hung in the balance. Enter Juan Bautista de Anza, a man whose life reads like an adventure novel. Born on the frontier in 1736, Anza lost his father to an Apache ambush when he was barely 4 years old. He grew up knowing that survival meant mastering warfare. By 19, he was a commissioned officer. What set Anza apart wasn't just military skill. It was legendary courage. Stories spread throughout Sonora of this Basque frontiersman who would charge into hand-to-hand combat with Apache and Comanche warriors, emerging victorious time and again. He had led expeditions across uncharted wilderness, founded cities in California, and earned a reputation as one of the most capable frontier commanders in the Spanish Empire. Now, Spanish officials were betting everything on this one man's ability to solve their Comanche problem. When Anza arrived in New Mexico, he immediately grasped the challenge. Spanish settlements were scattered like islands in a hostile sea. Families lived on isolated ranches and farms, easy prey for raiding parties who could strike without warning and vanish into the wilderness. Traveling north from El Paso along the Camino Real, he witnessed devastation firsthand. Tomé had suffered 21 settlers killed in one summer raid, 30 more the following year. Albuquerque was terrified families living behind makeshift fortifications. Everywhere, Anza saw signs of a frontier under siege. But Anza was more than a soldier. He was a strategist. He understood that defense alone would never solve this problem. The source lay far north, in the Comanche heartland of southern Colorado, which the Spanish called Comancheria. To end the terror, he would have to take the fight directly to the enemy. Anza's plan was audacious. He would assemble a massive expedition, not just Spanish soldiers, but Native American allies who had their own scores to settle with the Comanches. He would march north into unmapped territory, find the Comanche camps, and deliver such a crushing blow that they would never again dare raid Spanish settlements. By August 1779, Anza had assembled his force, 200 veteran soldiers, over 200 militia members, and nearly 300 Ute and Apache warriors, traditional Comanche enemies eager to join this campaign of revenge. It was a multinational, multi-ethnic army unlike anything seen on the frontier. On August 15th, at 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, this small army began its march north from Santa Fe. They were equipped for 40 days of campaigning in hostile territory, carrying everything needed for what everyone understood might be a one-way journey into the unknown. As they marched past the last Spanish settlements, Anza and his men entered a world where European maps meant nothing. They were guided by Indian allies who knew secret paths through mountain valleys, river crossings that appeared on no charts, and hidden routes that could keep a large force concealed from enemy scouts. The expedition faced challenges that would have broken lesser commanders. Unexpected cold fronts brought snow and fog. They were forced to march at night to avoid detection, stumbling through darkness with only starlight to guide them. They couldn't light fires because smoke might give away their position. But Anza's planning paid off. His scouts brought back intelligence that Comanche bands were gathering somewhere ahead, probably for one of their periodic councils. More importantly, they learned that the most feared war chief on the frontier was in the area, Cuerno Verde himself. Cuerno Verde wasn't just another Comanche leader. He was a figure of almost mythic proportions. Spanish records described him as consumed by hatred for colonists, someone who had forced his own warriors to take up arms against settlements across New Mexico. His father had held the same position and had also died fighting the Spanish, creating a cycle of vengeance that defined Cuerno Verde's entire life. When Anza's scouts finally made contact with Comanche forces, the chase began. The first engagement came suddenly. Spanish troops caught up with a Comanche band traveling to join Cuerno Verde's gathering. In the running battle that followed, 18 Comanche warriors were killed and over 30 women and children captured, along with 500 horses. More importantly, Anza's interrogation of prisoners revealed exactly where Cuerno Verde could be found. What followed was a deadly game across the Colorado wilderness. Anza pursued Cuerno Verde's trail for days, using every trick learned in decades of frontier warfare. When night fell after one engagement, the Comanches scattered in all directions, but Anza wasn't deterred. He had come too far to let his quarry escape. On September 3rd morning, Anza made a brilliant tactical decision. Instead of pursuing directly, he pretended to retreat, knowing Comanche scouts were watching. The deception worked perfectly. Convinced the Spanish were withdrawing, Cuerno Verde made his fatal mistake. He decided to make a stand. The final confrontation took place in a gully near the Arkansas River. When Anza spotted Comanche warriors firing muskets from nearby woods, he immediately identified the distinctive insignia marking their leader. There was Cuerno Verde himself, mounted on a magnificent horse, defiantly challenging the Spanish to advance. It was everything Anza had hoped for, a direct confrontation with the man who had terrorized Spanish settlements for years. The Comanche chief, perhaps driven by the pride that made him legendary, chose to fight rather than flee. With only 50 warriors against 600 Spanish troops and allies, it was hopeless, but also breathtakingly courageous. The battle was brief but decisive. Trapped in the gully with no escape, Cuerno Verde and his warriors dismounted and used their fallen horses as breastworks, fighting with desperate bravery until the end. When the shooting stopped, Cuerno Verde lay dead alongside his eldest son, 4 of his most famous captains, and a medicine man who had claimed to be immortal. Anza later reflected on the encounter with something approaching respect for his fallen enemy. Cuerno Verde had exposed himself needlessly during battle, refusing even to load his own musket. Such was his disdain for Spanish military capability. It was the pride of a warrior who had never known defeat, facing the reality that his time had finally come. The expedition's return to Santa Fe in September was triumphant, but Anza understood that military victory was only the beginning. The real challenge would be converting battlefield success into lasting peace, and here, the frontier commander proved as skilled a diplomat as warrior. The breakthrough came in July 1785, when 400 Comanches appeared at Taos seeking amnesty. Anza's response was masterful. He told them lasting peace could only be achieved if the Comanches united under a single leader. By fall, the various Comanche bands had gathered at Casa de Palo on the Arkansas River and elected a new chief named Equeracapa, whom the Spanish called Coda de Mala, coat of mail. But the peace process nearly collapsed when the Utes learned about negotiations. They were furious that Anza seemed to prefer making peace with unfaithful rebels rather than rewarding obedient friends. For hours they refused to smoke the peace pipe or accept gifts, threatening to walk away entirely. Anza's diplomatic skills proved equal to the challenge. Through patient negotiation, he convinced both sides that their mutual interest lay in peace rather than continued warfare. In February 1786, at Pecos Pueblo, a formal treaty was signed between the Utes and Comanches, with Spanish guarantees of fair treatment and special trading privileges. The agreement included a brilliant strategic element. Both tribes agreed to wage war against their common Apache enemies, either as auxiliaries with Spanish forces or independently. Anza had effectively redirected the region's endemic warfare away from Spanish settlements and toward tribes that remained hostile to colonial expansion. The results were immediate and dramatic. The Comanche raids that had terrorized New Mexico for decades simply stopped. Spanish settlers began moving north with confidence for the first time in living memory. Trade routes opened into Colorado, Utah, and the Great Basin. What had been a frontier of fear became a region of opportunity. Join my Patreon community and discover my art print products on my website in the links provided in my description and link above. Also, if you would like a particular image from my videos, give the timestamp for image, and I will upload it to my website and Patreon. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another Southwest story. Check out my large catalog of Southwest videos and playlists on historical tales, legends, lost gold stories, and adult bedtime stories. If you like a certain image from my videos, tell me in comments and give timestamp. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.